When evaluating the return on investment ROI of residential and commercial real estate, many investors focus primarily on income, operating expenses, and financing costs. While these elements are essential, one critical component is often underestimated or overlooked altogether: reserves for replacements. Properly accounting for reserves is fundamental to accurately measuring performance, preserving asset value, and making informed investment decisions. So, what are reserves for replacements? Reserves for replacements represent funds set aside annually to cover the future repair or replacement of major building components that wear out over time. These typically include roofs, HVAC systems, plumbing, electrical systems, elevators, appliances, parking surfaces, and exterior finishes. Unlike routine maintenance, these items have finite useful lives and require significant capital expenditures when they fail or reach the end of their service life. So, why do reserves matter in ROI calculations? ROI is intended to reflect the true economic performance of a property. Ignoring reserves can artificially inflate returns, creating a misleading picture of profitability. A property may appear to generate strong cash flow in the short term, but if capital items are aging and no funds are being set aside, future expenses can severely disrupt returns or require additional capital injections. By incorporating reserves into cash flow analysis, investors normalize capital expenses over time rather than absorbing them as sudden, large costs. This produces a more realistic and sustainable assessment of income and risk. So, what's the impact on long-term cash flow and asset value? Real estate is a long-term investment. Properties that are adequately reserved for replacements are better positioned to maintain consistent cash flow, avoid deferred maintenance, and preserve market value. Conversely, properties that defer capital spending often suffer from declining tenant satisfaction, higher vacancy, increased operating costs, and reduced resale value. In commercial properties, inadequate reserves can also affect tenant retention, lease renewals, and lender confidence. For residential properties, deferred replacements can result in emergency repairs, habitability issues, and regulatory or insurance complications. What about risk management and investor discipline? Including reserves in ROI calculations introduces discipline into underwriting and ownership. It forces investors to acknowledge the true cost of ownership and reduces the risk of overpaying for a property based on overstated cash flow. Lenders, institutional investors, and sophisticated buyers routinely factor reserves into their analysis for this reason. From a risk management standpoint, reserves act as a buffer against unexpected capital shocks, protecting both income and equity. Reserves for replacements are not optional or theoretical expenses. They are inevitable costs of owning real estate. Accurately calculating ROI without accounting for these reserves undermines investment analysis and exposes investors to unnecessary risk. By incorporating reserves into financial projections, investors gain a clearer understanding of true performance, make better acquisition decisions, and ensure the long-term stability and value of their assets. In both residential and commercial real estate, prudent reserving is not a conservative assumption. It's a professional standard.